If you think about um, an old school light bulb, right?
Right.
The light waves are just chaotic.
All over the place.
Yeah, they scatter everywhere. They bounce off each other. That's why it lights up a room, but it doesn't have any, real power.
Right.
But if you take those exact same light waves and you line them up so all the peaks and valleys match, you don't get a lamp. You get a laser.
And that's the literal physics definition of coherence. It's
Yeah.
energy without friction. When a system is coherent, it stops wasting energy fighting itself.
It just works.
Yeah.
And that is exactly where we're starting our deep dive today. We're taking that concept coherence and applying it to something, well, a lot more complex than a laser.
Human beings, yeah. We're looking at a stack of research today that really unpacks the science of self-alignment.
We should probably just say it right at the top, though. The source material we're analyzing applies this framework to the transgender experience.
Right. And usually when you hear that topic, your brain immediately goes to, culture wars, political debates.
Just noise.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's exhausting. But what stood out to me about this research and why I really wanted to get into it is that it completely sidesteps all of that. It's not asking you to vote. It's not asking you to wave a flag. It's asking us to look at this through the lens of, like, systems engineering.
Exactly. We're looking at the human nervous system as a machine that needs alignment to function properly. The whole premise here is that the drive to be transgender isn't a political statement.
It's not performance art.
No, it's a biological response to a system error. It's all about reducing contradiction.
I love that phrase, reducing contradiction.
Yeah.
It just sounds so manageable.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get into the mechanics. To understand why someone feels this misalignment, we first have to define what's actually trying to align. What is the self?
Right, because we tend to think of ourselves as this single, solid thing.
Like a little guy in your head.
Yeah, exactly. But the research suggests it's more like a composite signal, like a chord being played by an orchestra. You've got your physical body, your biology, your anatomy. Then you have your internal identity, that voice in your head. You have your memories. And then, and this is crucial, you have the social feedback you're getting from the world.
So it's a feedback loop.
Constantly. Your brain is a prediction machine. It's always predicting what should happen next. So if your internal map says, I am a man, and you look in the mirror and see a man, and the barista says, here's your coffee, sir, all those inputs align.
The orchestra is in key. You get a click.
You get that click. That's coherence. And here's the kicker, and this is a major point in the source material. For the vast majority of people, cisgender people, that coherence is free. It's automatic. You don't have to work for it.
And this is what the notes call invisible privilege. And I want to pause on that because privilege is such a loaded word, isn't it?
It really is. People hear it and immediately think, wait, I work hard for a living. Nothing was handed to me.
Right.
And that's fair. It's not economic privilege. The source suggests thinking of it as metabolic privilege. It's energy you don't have to spend.
I like that.
If you're cisgender, you don't wake up and have to intellectually justify your own gender to yourself. You just are.
It's like breathing. You never think, wow, I'm so grateful my lungs are working, until you have a really bad chest cold.
Or you're underwater, yeah. The invisibility is a luxury. Because the system is running smoothly, you don't even notice the engine is on. But for a transgender person, that automatic alignment fails. The prediction machine starts throwing up error messages.
So let's talk about those errors.
Uh-huh.
The research is so clear that this isn't just confusion or a phase. It's describing a physiological state. What is actually happening in the body when that alignment breaks?
It creates chronic stress on the nervous system. Think of it like the audio and video being out of sync in a movie.
Oh, that's infuriating.
It is. Your brain can't relax. It's constantly trying to sync them up. Now, just imagine that feeling. But it's your entire existence. The internal map says X, but the external reality is screaming Y.
The source used a few analogies that I found really, really helpful here. My favorite, because it's so mundane, was the mispronounced name analogy.
That's a great one. It's so relatable. Imagine if every single person you met, your boss, your partner, your own parents, pronounced your name wrong.
Every single time.
Every time. You correct them, they nod, and 5 seconds later they do it again.
And they don't just say, oh, sorry. They insist that the wrong name is your real name.
Yes, because it's on some old paperwork somewhere. Now think about how that would feel over time. It's not just annoyance, it's this low-level grinding in your teeth. A feeling of, am I going crazy? Why can't they hear me? That's the friction.
And there was another one about a stone in your shoe.
That one's more about the physical side of things. If you have a sharp stone in your shoe, you adjust how you walk. You limp.
Right.
You don't limp because you identify as a limper or to make a political statement about shoes. You limp because your body is instinctively trying to minimize the pain.
And that just completely reframes the idea of transition. I think from the outside, people see the limp, the new name, the clothes, the hormones, and they see it as a performance.
Right. But the limp isn't the point.
The point is getting the stone out of your shoe.
The point is getting the stone out. The source defines transition not as becoming someone new, but as reducing contradiction. It's an editing process. You're editing the external reality to finally match the internal truth.
You're stopping that error signal.
You're just trying to get the system to click, to get to that state of coherence.
And because that error is so individual, the fix has to be individual too. There isn't like one single way to be trans.
No, and that's a huge misconception. People think there's a checklist you have to follow. But if the goal is just to stop the distress, then the solution is whatever stops the distress for you. For some people, just changing pronouns is enough. The error signal stops. They feel seen.
And they're good.
They're good. And for others, the dissonance is really deep in their biology. So they might need medical intervention to align the body with the mind.
So there are no rules.
The only rule is what makes the signal clear? What stops the friction?
Okay, this brings us to a really common criticism, though. You hear people say, okay, but isn't this just reinforcing stereotypes? If a trans woman wears a dress and makeup, isn't she just acting out some old-fashioned idea of a woman?
It's a fair question, but it's conflating two different things: identity and expression. Identity is who you are. Expression is how you signal that identity to the world.
Signals, like a uniform.
Exactly. We all use them. If you wear a suit to a job interview, you're signaling, I'm a professional. You're not doing it because you have a deep spiritual connection to ties.
Yeah.
You're doing it so the interviewer categorizes you correctly.
So if a trans woman adopts a stereotypical look, it's not always about personal taste. It can be a tool.
It's a signaling mechanism.
Okay.
It's a way to help the world categorize her correctly so the friction stops. If wearing a dress helps people say she instead of he, then that dress is doing a very important job.
But it's not the whole story.
Not at all. And the source is clear on this. Many trans people don't fit stereotypes at all. You have trans men who love floral patterns and trans women who are tomboys.
Which just proves it's not about the performance.
Right. The goal isn't to be a caricature. The goal is just to be seen.
Speaking of being seen, let's talk about language.
Hmm?
Because this is where a lot of the day-to-day interaction happens. The source pointed out something that surprised me. A lot of people who go through this actually don't like the word transgender.
It makes sense when you think about it, though. The prefix trans means across or over.
A transition.
But what if you feel like you've already arrived? Continuing to call yourself trans can feel like you're putting a permanent asterisk next to your name.
Like a disclaimer. I'm not just a man, I'm a trans man.
Exactly. It keeps the history of the error attached to you. Many people just want to be men or women. Or they prefer other terms like gender diverse.
So what's the rule of thumb here?
The source offers a really simple one, and it's the only one that matters. Use the language the person uses for themselves.
That's it.
That's it. If someone says, please don't call me trans, just call me Mike, then you call him Mike. It's about dignity, not taxonomy.
This brings us to what I think is really the intellectual anchor of this whole deep dive. The source speaks directly to the listener who might be thinking, okay, I get the theory, but I just don't feel it. How can I agree with this?
This is the distinction between respect and agreement. And it is so, so important. The source calls it the realness principle.
Okay, let's unpack that.
The principle is simple. You don't have to understand or agree with the mechanism of someone's experience to acknowledge that the experience is real for them.
And the analogy they used was chronic pain, migraines.
It's perfect. If you tell me you have a splitting migraine, I can't see it. I can't measure it. I might be someone who's never had a headache in my life.
So I might think, just drink some water.
Right. But I would never look you in the eye and say, I disagree with your migraine.
Of course not.
I wouldn't say, I refuse to lower my voice because your pain is inconsistent with my personal worldview.
No. You lower your voice, you dim the lights.
Because that's kindness. Kindness doesn't require me to feel your pain. It just requires me to respect that you are feeling it.
And the same goes for something like religion. You can be an atheist, but you don't stand on your neighbor's lawn every Sunday morning debating the existence of God.
You just wave. You recognize that their faith is real to them. That's enough. You don't have to convert to their religion to be a good neighbor.
And you don't have to convert your own gender identity to respect someone else's.
Exactly.
Okay, let's play devil's advocate. The source does this too. It addresses the fears. People worry that by validating this experience, we're just throwing biology out the window.
The source is really firm on this. Biology is still real. Chromosomes don't just vanish. Bodies exist.
We're not pretending science isn't there.
Not at all. What changes is the social weight we put on those biological markers. We're stopping the assumption that your chromosomes must dictate your entire life. Your personality, your job, your role in society.
So it's not erasing science, it's expanding psychology.
Precisely. It's acknowledging that the human software is just as important as the hardware.
And what about the fear of social stability? The slippery slope argument. The idea that if we let this happen, society will just dissolve into chaos.
But the argument from a systems perspective is the exact opposite. Coherence creates stability. Think about it. Who is a more stable, productive member of a community? Someone who is trapped in a state of chronic contradiction, stressed out and hiding.
Or someone who's resolved that conflict.
Right. Someone who is comfortable in their own skin. When you aren't fighting your own existence every day, you have so much more energy to be a good employee, a good neighbor, a good parent.
So allowing for this doesn't create chaos.
Yeah.
It actually cures it for that person.
Coherence is a stabilizer. A population of people who feel right in their own bodies is a stronger population.
There is one last fear, and it's a very personal one. It's the fear of the oops, the fear of saying the wrong thing, using the wrong pronoun, and getting yelled at.
The walking on eggshells thing, yeah. And the source offers a lot of grace here. It makes a really clear distinction between a mistake and malice.
So if I slip up,
you correct yourself and move on. That's it. It's just like accidentally stepping on someone's toe in a crowded room. You say, oh, sorry, and you take your foot off.
You don't stand there and argue about why their foot was in your way.
No. And you don't spend the next 10 minutes apologizing and making a huge scene out of it. You just fix it and move on.
So perfection isn't required.
Good faith is. If you're trying, people see that. Deliberately using the wrong name to prove a point, that's harm. But an honest mistake, that's just human.
It comes back to that phrase, doesn't it? Ordinary dignity.
Exactly. We're not talking about special rights. We're talking about the right to exist without being interrogated, the right to be called by your name. That's the baseline for how we treat each other.
And offering that dignity to someone else takes nothing away from you.
Nothing. A phrase that really stuck out to me from the notes was simply, there is room. Your identity doesn't get weaker just because someone else finds theirs.
So as we wrap this up, I want to circle back to where we started, with physics, with the idea that alignment creates power.
And I think we've seen that for people, that coherence is a biological necessity. It's the condition we need to thrive. For some of us, that alignment is a gift we're born with. For others, it's a hard-won victory.
And for those of us witnessing that victory, our job isn't to judge the process. It's just to respect the result.
Kindness is not confusion. That's the big takeaway for me. You're not being irrational by accepting someone you don't fully understand. You're actually just reducing the friction in the world.
I want to leave you with a thought from the source that I think applies to everyone. It asks, where in your own life are you tolerating friction? Where are you forcing a signal that doesn't quite match who you really are?
Because if we learn anything from this, it's that the cost of that incoherence is high. It costs you your peace.
And the value of alignment is priceless. That's it for this deep dive into the mechanics of self. We hope it gave you a new and maybe calmer lens to see the world through.
Thanks for listening.
Catch you next time.